Come on in, pull up a chair, and take a load off because today I will be reviewing and paging through Paleomythic from Osprey Games. Is this an interesting rules light Stone Age RPG? Or will reading it simply leave you stone cold? You'll find out right after this. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. As I mentioned in the open, I am going to be reviewing and paging through Paleomythic, which is one of two new role-playing game releases from Osprey Games, which is, of course, a division of Osprey Publishing. And the other is Romance of the Perilous Land, which I will have a review of in the very near future. I did want to talk about Paleomythic because it is arriving in stores very shortly. Some stores, I believe, already have it. I believe December 24th is the release date that is scheduled for Paleomythic. It is written by Graham Rose with artwork provided by John McCambridge and Mars Osterveld. Hopefully I came close to pronouncing that name correctly. The 288-page hardcover book is, I believe, in some stores right now. I can't tell you that the PDF is available, but the hardcover will carry an MSRP of $35, and the PDF is available right now at Drive-Thru RPG for $24.50. Of course, whenever I mention Drive-Thru RPG, keep in mind that the Gaming Gang is an affiliate of the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit any of the drive-thru sites, please swing by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our drive-thru banners. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, that really helps us out. Regardless, let's swing on over to the other camera. I will talk a bit about Paleomythic as we page through the book. Here we have Paleomythic from Graham Rose and Osprey Games. It is a role-playing game of stone and sorcery. So if we take a look at the back here, it says Paleomythic is a role-playing game of mythical adventures and grim survival in the ancient land of Mu, a harsh prehistoric world of biting cold winters, savage predators, and hostile tribes. Take on the roles of hunters, healers, warriors, soothsayers, and more as you explore temples and mysterious ruins, bargain with otherworldly spirits, war with tribes of beastmen and cave-dwelling ghouls, and thwart the schemes of ambitious warlords and nefarious mystics. Whether you tell a gritty tale of hardship and survival, or an epic saga of grand adventure, Paleomythic provides all the tools for storytelling at the dawn of time. All right, so as you can see, this is, my hands are not huge. I do not have massive hands. So this is a digest size as far as page size, but this is a good size book as far as one of the two new releases from Osprey Games in their new lineup of role-playing games. Paleomythic was previously released, I believe, if I remember correctly, I think it was self-published. But this is a kind of revamped and expanded edition of the game. We're going to jump on in here. I have already done a rather extensive page through. So I'm going to actually kind of zip through this fairly quickly and kind of talk about the system itself, kind of point out some aspects of the book itself, and kind of go from there. So as far as the book itself, it is really, really well put together, really, really nicely done. It's Osprey. It's Osprey Publishing. What do you expect? So top-notch as far as the artwork and the paper stock and the binding. This is going to hold up to a lot of gameplay at your table. So effectively, this is a D6 mechanic system. So essentially, it's very easy. This is a very rules light system, in my opinion, as well. Because basically, what you're going to do is you're going to have a certain amount of dice to roll. They're all six-sided. If you roll a 6, you succeed. It's pretty much right here. Here's the game mechanics summary right here for you. So to make a test, I should say, roll dice equal to the current number of traits. If any of the dice show a 6, the test succeeds. If you have a relevant trait, you get a bonus die. If you have a relevant flaw, you lose a die. You could get bonus dice for the correct tool. Tools break if the tool dice shows a 1. Weapon effects occur if the tool bonus die shows a 6. Pretty easy peasy. Most of the characters are going to have usually 4 traits. A lot of it's going to depend on their age as well. But for the most part, you're looking at about 4 traits. So most of your players will have 6 dice available to them to roll to pass challenges, to pass tests. You also have flaws. You've got talents. As I mentioned, a flaw, if it's an applicable flaw, it's going to deduct a die from that pool. If you have a talent that's applicable, you're going to gain a die. As you take damage in combat, your damage is actually your traits. So, say you've got 4 traits. If you take 1 damage, you'll lose a trait. So, effectively, what's happening too is the more hurt that you are in combat or exhaustion or what have you, the less successful you are going to be at succeeding at tests. I thought that was kind of an interesting aspect of this design. We got a lot of different charts for different things as well. Talking about these are the different talents and traits that are available to the characters. Got appearance, and we've got the different talents, which actually goes into a bit of detail about these because, in essence, you're kind of looking at that they're kind of like your class. And then it tells you what your starting goods are as well. We've got various different kind of almost like an old school vibe where we've got different tables for you to roll on for various different just random like for an example here, we've got stolen items. You're going to roll 4d6 to get a number for that. I thought it was kind of funny. So, like starting goods for some of these different archetypes, you've got a chart for you to roll a die. It tells you, okay, well, you get these items plus roll a die. So the setting, of course, is prehistoric. There is no written language. These are not Neanderthals, though. It is early humans. And I think this is very, very interesting. Like I said, really cool artwork. Really nicely done as far as the artwork. But once again, as I mentioned, this is Osprey. This is what we expect from Osprey Publishing and Osprey Games, that we're going to see some top-notch artwork and graphic design. So we do have a good amount of page count devoted to the various different archetypes. So we've got some different kind of magic users, but it's more shamanistic magic. We're not looking at like high fantasy magic. Cave painters, I thought that is a cool archetype as well. It's something that you might want to take a peek at because they actually gain the ability to like summon animal spirits based on what they've actually painted on the walls and stuff. So pretty cool different archetypes. Not your typical, say, D&D or Pathfinder sort of character classes, just kind of made Paleolithic. But a lot of thought has gone into the various different sorts of character types that your players can take on. I mean, even like a fisherman or a woman has some really cool abilities that they can use. A gatherer. Now, one aspect of this game that I think might be a little difficult is player improvement. It's simply you're kind of like either gaining talents. You can remove flaws. Um, it is kind of interesting how essentially there's kind of like an aging process that should be built into your characters as well, so that you're not sitting there and having, like, say, in a typical fantasy role playing game, you'll have characters go off on all these, world spanning adventures, but they very rarely age. In this, you do kind of see where it's like, well, only so many adventures should take place, and then your player characters should move into the next age range. And there aren't a ton of age ranges either. So, got the different weapons. As I mentioned before, you're using six-sided dice. When you're using tools or weapons, you'll have a different colored die. So, say for an example, maybe you've got 4 white dice and 1 red die for your combat die. And these weapons have a special effect on a roll of a 6 on that die. And of course, tools and weapons break if you roll a 1. Now, some folks out there might say, well, geez, stuff is going to be breaking all the time. You roll a 1? Well, keep in mind, you're looking at equipment that's been made from wood and bone, excuse me, and stone, and so forth. So now we start getting into kind of the adventuring mechanics of the game. As I mentioned before, this is very, very rules light. As you can see, we're looking at not even full pages devoted to certain aspects. Like movement, we get a full page. Chase is half a page. Escaping, a chase, half a page. Fighting, not even a page. Ranged attacks, not even half a page. Injury, as I mentioned, injury is as you take wounds, your ability to perform is actually reduced. So the more damage you take, the harder it's going to be for you to fight or do other things that require actually being able to pass a challenge test. Now, that said, talking about how the rules are pretty light, there are some tactics in combat as well that you can utilize. Then we start getting into some of the weapons. Here are the weapon effects. So quite a lot of weapon effects, actually. You get a little example of combat. Combat can be actually pretty deadly. It can be pretty deadly in this game, especially keeping in mind if you have 4 traits. If you got your 4 dice, that basically means that you can take 4 steps of damage and then you're out of action. And once you're out of action, of course, depending on how things are going for your party, is going to determine if you survive or not. All right, so just kind of swinging through. As you notice, everything's just little bite-sized chunks. Nothing in this book just goes on and on and on and on for page upon page upon page. It is very easy to process the different portions of the rules themselves. Then we get into the setting information. Thought it's pretty cool. Some of this is based on, ancient legends. I mean, real ancient legends. The other world, which is where you've got the spirits, different tribes, talking about creating your tribe, and not only just your tribe, but other tribes as well, non-player character tribes. And we start getting into like settlements, dwellings, different places. Then we start getting into the ancient gods. So most of this is just going to be kind of like setting material as well. We will get a bit of a bestiary here. So here it's kind of talking, this is not necessarily a bestiary with the foes. This is more talking about like fighting other humans. But then we get into some of the different beasts. Unfortunately, not a ton of images as far as the bestiary, although you got to admit, many of these, people know what an elephant looks like. We don't necessarily need to see an image of an elephant, but it would have been cool to see a little bit more, graphic representation of some of these. Well, that is kind of cool with the giant scorpion. Got to dig that. You could easily kind of transport this from ancient Mu to, say, like if you want to do like ancient Egypt. It's pretty simple. Any sort of prehistory setting can be utilized. It does not have to necessarily be a kind of like jungle setting whatsoever. Then we get into the game master section here, or game moderator section. Once again, not a ton of like just running on sentences and paragraphs and things like that. We get a lot of different tables, a lot of random tables talking about various different things. As I'm zipping through here. And it's talking about creating your adventures, atmosphere. You include fights, having puzzle, talking about the senses. That I happen to be big about telling my players, things that they smell, things that they hear, like the winds howling, things like that. Then we get into some game variants as well. So talking about kind of different settings as opposed to just ancient Mu. So we've got like classic sword and sorcery, pretty easy. Downplay the prehistoric fauna. Then we get an adventure. This is a pretty short adventure. I do like this map though. I think this is pretty cool. We have the map of the adventure. The adventure's okay. I think one of the aspects of running Paleomythic is that we don't have a lot of tropes that you can utilize. I mean, granted, Clan of the Cave Bear. We have the series of novels from back in the day, but when you're running like say a fantasy role playing game, you've got thousands upon thousands of adventures that have been published for hundreds of different systems over the years, whereas something like Paleomythic is different. This is a different system. So I would not necessarily recommend this as a first role playing game for someone brand new to the hobby who wants to run an RPG. Although the system itself is very easy to wrap your head around, I think it's just going to take a bit of experience to be able to create adventures that would easily slot into something like Paleomythic. I don't know what's planned on the horizon as far as adventures from Osprey, because the role-playing game setup, the role-playing game division, I guess we'll say, is brand new. We have 2 new books that are out. We've got this, and we also have Romance of the Perilous Kingdom, which I will be reviewing in probably about another week. But I actually like this a lot. I think this is really nicely done. Like I said, I can't say that I would recommend it for a first-time game master, but with a little experience under your belt, especially creating a background, kind of world building, and creating adventures, once you have a little of that behind you, under your belt, I think this is perfect to jump into if you're looking to play. Even if you're looking at classic like Sword and Sorcery, Paleomythic will work. It's just not simply like a high fantasy game. But as a prehistoric role-playing game, I think this works really well. So let's swing on over to the other camera, because I will share my final thoughts and give my review score of Paleomythic. There you have a bit of a page through, and of course, my thoughts on Paleomythic. Allow me to wrap this up. I'm going to provide a summary, give you some final thoughts, and put a bow on this as I provide my review score for Paleomythic from Osprey Games. I think it's pretty obvious watching me page through and talk about the game. I do like this system. I think Paleomythic is a really nicely presented book. Art-wise, really nice. It's not overflowing with artwork, so you're getting plenty of gaming material over those 288 pages. So that's cool as well. The base mechanics of the game, the meat and potatoes of the game itself, really easy. You're rolling a certain number of d6s. You're hoping for a 6 to succeed. And of course, with that weapon die or tool die, you're also looking for a 6 and no ones. You don't want that tool or weapon to break. Really, really simple. Reminds me a little bit of the Year One engine from Free League Publishing. Once again, rolling six-sided dice. You're looking for successes on that. I will mention there is no escalating success. There are no degrees of success. So, for an example, if you roll more than 1 6, it's not something bigger and better. You're just looking for succeeding on a 6 out of whatever number of dice that you're going to roll. Combat's a little unique because your damage is actually your traits. So as you take damage or exhaustion, what have you, you're going to lose dice that you're rolling, making it harder for you to succeed. And of course, being wounded after combat, you have to heal. Otherwise, you are still going to be rolling from a depleted die pool. So I like that. I think that's pretty cool. One thing I will mention is that there are a lot of different subjects, especially when we're talking about the background of the world of Mew. And you'll see like 2 or 3 paragraphs devoted to a subject, or maybe in another game book, you'd see 2 or 3 pages devoted to it. There are little kind of bite-sized chunks just to kind of pique your interest. But some of these subjects I would have liked to have seen a little more in-depth presentation to kind of iron things out and to kind of bring the world a little more to life. I do have to say, it's kind of strange because this is a very rules-like game, very simple for anybody to pick up and learn and pick up and run. But then on the other side, I kind of look at this as maybe not being a game best suited for beginning game masters, simply because there is not going to be a lot of material out there for you to draw from. And especially in this book itself, there's not a whole lot of info for the game master. And a lot of that game master information is simply random charts for different things. I'm not sure how much support Paleomythic is going to receive from Osprey Games, because this, as well as Romance of the Perilous Land, are the first 2 releases in their new role-playing game lineup. I can't tell you if we're going to see Paleomythic expansion books, supplements, adventure books, and so forth coming down the line. I hope so, because I do think this is a pretty cool and very easy system to pick up and play. That said, I don't know if that's going to be the case. So we will have to wait and see. We'll kind of take a wait and see approach, I guess we'll say. That said, I have to ding this a little bit, even though I really do like the book. I think it's really well presented. The artwork's great. I find the system to be very easy. It's not crunchy at all. Pretty simple to wrap your head around. But I am a bit concerned that we will not see ongoing support for this game from Osprey. So, gotta ding it just a touch. That said, like I said before, I really like this book. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I give Paleomythic a very solid 8.6 out of 10. There you have it for this time out. Don't forget, be sure to catch me live Mondays through Fridays right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central as I bring you the Daily Dope and the latest tabletop gaming news of the day. Of course, if you like this video, give it a quick thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. And if you do, don't forget, ring that little bell, because it will not only notify you when I upload new reviews or first looks or page throughs or unboxings or interviews or convention coverage. Whoo, yeah. It'll also tell you when my live stream goes live within about a minute or so. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And of course, until next time, happy trails. Doobity-bity-bity-boo-boo. Zoobity-bity-bity-boo. Zabba-dabba-dabba-dabba-bum. Zibbit. Whoa, hey. I didn't realize that you were still here. Well, if that's the case, then allow me to share the following information with you that I only have 20 seconds to do. So let's all take a deep breath. So, if you would like to subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel, please click right here. If you want to check out the latest episode of The Daily Dope, click right here. And if you'd like to check out a randomly selected standalone video, by all means, click right here. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer, and thanks for watching.